Hi, I'm Roger Bindl. I'm at the 2017 Common Thread Collaboration Brew Day. It's at Asylum this year. Let's go inside and take a look at what they're brewing.
We're going to be brewing a Baltic Porter.
Joe Waltz at Asylum is coordinating the brewing this year.
We are going to be brewing 25 barrels worth of Baltic Porter today. And to make that beer, it's going to be about 2,900 pounds of malt. The bulk of it is going to be 6-row Pilsner malt from South Shore Brewery. Bo up there grows some of his own barley. We are also using some Caramel 120, some extra special malt from Breeze, some dehusked black malt to give us some color and some roast without too much of the sharpness. We are using some Cara brown malt, which is fairly reminiscent of an older malt that would have been used in porters. It's all Wisconsin malt and all Wisconsin hops from Gorse Valley Hops out in Mazomanie. So today we're brewing 25 barrels, and in about 3 days, once we've grown up more yeast, we are going to brew another 3 batches of 25 barrels. So we're going for about 100 barrels total. We're all going to weigh the grain together, we're going to mill it across to the brew house, and then we're going to start brewing this Baltic Porter. The Baltic Porter is really kind of Central Europe's answer to Imperial Stout. So a lot of lager brewers out there wanted to brew a similar style, so they started brewing what we know now as Baltic Porter. Our version is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 9% alcohol, which is fairly typical, and really smooth, rich character from fermenting with lager yeast and not using quite so much roasted malt. The first thing we have to do in the brewing process is treat our water. So Madison water is very hard and very alkaline. And for a lot of aspects of brewing, hardness is good, so we want to keep that calcium, but we want to get rid of that alkalinity. That alkalinity is going to drive our pHs up through all the processes. It's going to combine with calcium to drop chalk on our equipment that's really hard to get out. So what we do is we treat our water with lactic acid. That eliminates the carbonate alkalinity and leaves the calcium alone. So kind of the opposite of a water softener. We are in the process of brewing the Common Thread Baltic Porter. That is where the grain waits for brewing, so that's milled grain. When we start brewing, we drop that grain into the tank below it, which is called a mash mixer. We mix it with water, and we'll hold it there for about 30 to 40 minutes. That converts the starches in the grain into sugar. Then we'll take that whole mash and pump it over to the next vessel in the far back corner, which is called our lauter tun. And that's a separation vessel. So the mash is composed of liquid and solid all mixed together, so we want to get the solid grain out and keep the liquid to make beer with. The liquid will flow through into the next vessel, which is our boil kettle, and that's what we're currently doing. We're lautering the wort, so we're collecting wort in the kettle. And once we get all of the wort, which is unfermented beer, in the kettle, we are going to bring it up to a boil. We're going to add hops throughout the boil. Once the boil's done, after about an hour, we're going to pump all the wort into this tank right here, which is our whirlpool vessel. After that, we're going to take all the wort and send it through wort stripper, and then it's going to go to a fermentation tank and spend several weeks into a fermentation tank. We're going to put it into a fermentation tank the same size as this one right to my right. That's a 40-barrel tank. In that tank, the yeast is going to begin eating the sugars, turning it into alcohol, and it's probably going to take about 3 to 4 weeks to ferment that beer because lagers ferment slower than ales, strong beers ferment slower than weaker beers, and this is a strong lager. So I'm estimating about 3 to 4 weeks for fermentation, and then it's going to get probably another 2 to 3 weeks of lagering time to settle everything out. When you're brewing beer, it's very important to make sure you have enough cells to do the job of fermentation. So what we do in the lab is we will count the cells and then use the count per unit weight to figure out how much to pitch into the beer to get a good fermentation. The last thing we're going to do is put it into kegs and put it into bottles. So we are standing in the packaging area of Asylum. And Common Thread, every year we've always put Common Thread into kegs. And this is the first year that we're going to put it in both kegs and bottles. So we are going to have 6 packs of Common Thread this year.
So that's what a day looks like when you get a bunch of brewers together and they start collaborating to brew a beer for what is called Common Thread. It's a beer collaboration. It'll be ready in about 7 weeks, I guess.
Cheers to Wisconsin beer!